You may find this interesting if you've ever struggled with weight and feel that it is through eating too much chocolate or satisfying yourself after a meal when you don't feel fulfilled, even though you're full and you still have to have a piece of chocolate or something like that. So this is what came up for me today, and I'd completely forgotten all about this because this is going back to my body whispering days and when I was helping women with weight loss, but it's all the same thing. So listen to this. So I was having my hair done today. Thank you. So nice to have it recoloured and hide the grey and give it a bit of a trim. So I was listening to the lady that I was having who was being my hairdresser. And I've known her for quite some years. We used to do yoga together. And I said, so how are you? And she said, oh, I'm just gaining so much weight. She goes, I can't stop eating, sugars. She said, I have to have one when I've finished my meal. It's just, I'm not satisfied unless I do that. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, kind of, I understand that. I've heard that story before, been there myself. I have like a little raw chocolate sometimes afterwards. And then all of a sudden, all this download started coming through. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd forgotten all about that, feeding your soul. So I was asking him more questions about, is it when you're on your own or is it in when you're company, and what texture is it that you want to feel, and what is the temperature, all the stuff that we do when we're doing our soul work. Anyway, it came that she really wanted that sort of creamy, melting, dipping black chocolate in a hot coffee and just melting it in your mouth, that kind of thing, which is so familiar to a story that I had of a lady who used to have dime bars and chocolates on her passenger seat as she was driving, and she just couldn't stop eating them. And of course, didn't help her weight. So I was asked to tell her, what else would be satisfying for you? What else would be fulfilling for you? Like if you couldn't have that sensation in your mouth, is there a sensation that you would really feel satisfied if you could have that melting, pliable feeling in your hands? And she went, oh yeah, she said, clay, working with clay or something like that. And I said, okay, fine. I said, I've had a client before. One of them was, she had to have a doo-doo. She had to have a soft, cuddly toy. And there's some soft toys now that are just so soft and so satisfying. And this other lady, she had, several ladies actually, had the fetish that satisfied them for having, I don't know if you know it, Duplo. So it's like a kiddie toy. I'll show you a photograph after this. And I asked this other lady, so what colour would it be? And she went, oh, God, I didn't know, blue. It has to be blue. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to go and buy yourself some then and just keep it in your handbag and play with it when you're stressed out or when you think you're, not satisfied or just during your day, or even when you're meditating, just have it with you and have it as a very satisfying fix. So I was telling this to my hairdresser today, and she said, I totally and utterly understand that. She said, I can do that. And she said, that would really feed that need. And she said, I understand it on a mental and emotional and a spiritual basis. Oh, she said, I'm going to do that. So if you are struggling with food, if you're struggling with emotional eating, if you're struggling with, you think that you've got a habit that you can't break, there are several different ways that I work with, but this is one of them, finding out what it is that would be more satisfying than that, or as satisfying as having that melting moment in your mouth. Now, what downloaded after that was very much to do with finding self-love, being able to self-soothe. So this goes back to sort of kiddie times, really, thinking about all the toys and breastfeeding and, oh gosh, yeah, all those kind of things, and feeding your soul. So that was what was coming through, and I hope you find this really, really interesting, because these things that we can do to satisfy our soul and to give ourselves self-love, they may not be normal, like going to walk in the woods or going for a meditation or chanting or singing or crystal bowls or massage. Sometimes it's the little things. It's the little things that just, the textures and the smell and the sensations that we're missing. We are very, very, very feeling, and we are getting more sensual in our frequencies as the frequencies rise. So have a play with that in your thoughts about what would be more satisfying than having that next cup of coffee with cream, or that next sweetie, or that next biscuit. I had a client as well who she couldn't stop eating peanuts at night time. And when I crunched and it was I said, does it have to be peanuts? I said, could it be that you could snap a pencil in your mouth? And she said, oh, yes, that would be so satisfying. And so we worked out that that was like anger issues that she had, that she just wanted to bite on something. So eventually we worked that through, and that helped get rid of that particular obsession and craving and the message that was coming through in that choice of food or that choice of action. So anyway, look, I hope this is helpful for you. We're all here to bring more love to our souls, to feel the love and above, and let our souls rest in peace for the rest of our lives, and just get to the bottom of what the body is actually showing us that she needs, rather than filling ourselves up on food because we think that's the only thing that is satisfying. Anyway, lots of love. Have a lovely soulful day.